Hey everyone, welcome to the E2 Effective Elders podcast. Visit us at e2elders.org and please share this good word with others.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us once again for the E2 podcast. We want to thank CDF Capital for making this possible. Today, we're going to look at the good word patience. All year long, 2022, we're taking a different word of the month to bring encouragement to people. And the month of June is this word patience. And today, specifically, how to be patient when life is confusing. I want to introduce to you Brandon Rukes, and Brandon is the lead pastor at Griffith First Christian Church up in Griffith, Indiana, the northwest corner of our state. Brandon, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Gary. It's definitely a hot one. I think it's 94 degrees here, and I think it's probably even hotter outside.
Yeah, I'm sure that it is, and it's pretty warm here in Indianapolis. Yeah. Hey, we're so grateful that you're going to help us understand this thought of patiently waiting on God when life can be so very confusing. And there was a season in your life, not that far too long ago, when life was confusing, just like a wave hitting on the shore of the ocean. One confusing episode after another. You want to share some of those with us, please?
Yeah. No, there have definitely been a season of waves for sure, not only at Griffith First Christian, but in my own personal life. So to begin, I am a father of two. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and so blessed to have both of them. But actually, a lot of infertility issues to begin with. And so my 2-year-old actually was a miracle of God himself to be able to conceive. And so I'm just so excited that God had chosen me to be a father to my daughter, Anna. And so when she was born, she was this beautiful, healthy baby. She was 9 pounds. She was full of red hair. She was a monster in and of itself. And things were great. It seemed like, this was an answered prayer. This was an answer to God's grace and mercy into giving me my own child. But only just a couple months after she was born, she started getting real sick. And we ended up going to the ER when I think she was just a few months old, and she had 104 fever. And that's in dangerous territory as an adult, but that's even more dangerous territory as an infant. And so the hospital pretty much didn't know what was going on, and they actually sent us up to Lurie's Children's Hospital in Chicago, the best of the best in our area. And we were terrified, and I was so scared, just because not only it was my baby's life was at risk, but we didn't know what was going on. We had no idea what was happening. And long story short, over the next year and a half, it's been a whirlwind of procedures and testing to come to find out she had an issue with her kidney function that through a more recent procedure this last October, or September, October, so about a little less than a year ago, finally to resolve the issue. And things have been great ever since. It was a scary time, a lot of prayer, a lot of support from our friends and family, but for the most part, it was just confusing because we had no answers. And so it was scary to think about from God's perspective of, you've given me this beautiful child, and then as soon as you have given me this answered prayer, it almost seems as if there's another issue entirely with her life and her health. And so
Right. And as you're going through all of those many surgical procedures, wondering if baby Anna is going to live or not, then all of a sudden another wave comes crashing into your life. You know, you're on staff at a church
Yep. So I
And
was the associate pastor here, currently at that time at GFCC, and we ended up having a lapse in leadership morally, and there became this giant vacuum of leadership. And in fact, it was kind of a triple whammy. In April of 2021, my best friend and fellow worship player, bass player Scott, actually passed away unexpectedly of a heart attack. He was 42, and that took a big hit on my own life. Only 2 weeks later, our senior pastor ended up resigning, and then only a month after that, two of our elders also resigned and left the building. And so here we are with a season of mourning, both in the physical death and in the relational death of leadership, eldership, staff, and there was this huge vacuum of where is God leading us? I mean, you think of a moment where we were probably only just a few years ago sitting at 200 to 250 on a weekend. Right at this time in April, we were averaging 440 to 495 on a weekend, and regularly breaking our tithes and offerings projections. And so things were great at GFCC, and then all of a sudden, it seems as if the blessings of God got ripped right out from under us when this vacuum appeared.
Yeah, the bottom fell out.
It was chaos, and we ended up sending out applications for people to apply. We ended up getting 65 applicants in total. And we narrowed it down to 5. It took a long time, but our eldership and our staff narrowed it down to the top 5 candidates. And we figured, okay, this is where God's leading us. This is what we're supposed to be doing. It might have been confusing back then, but now we finally got a vision. We're finally moving forward. Let's offer the position to this first candidate. And he said no. And we were kind of confused because, when you are the employer, typically the applicants apply to work for you. And so when we offer the position and they say no, it was kind of confusing because we didn't know what was the reason. Was it financial? Was it logistical? Was it? And this guy ended up saying, he's like, I don't know how to explain it to you, but I was praying to God, and God told me to say no. And we're like, well, that's interesting. Okay. I mean, we can't argue with that. And so we reach out to our second candidate, and the same offer, and strange enough, the same response. I don't know what to tell you. I've been praying to God. I've been praying with my wife, and we're going to say no. And we offered it to the third person. And in like a weird drama movie soap opera type situation, it was the same sentence. I don't know what to tell you other than I've been praying and God told me to say no. And it was like this weird, okay, God has now just told our top 3 candidates no. I would say in a strange way, it shows their leadership, shows their maturity in the sense that, this could be a position that they might have really liked. And yet they listened to God and they said, okay, God told me no. God told me there's something better. And so now we're our top 3 candidates. And what do we do? I mean, here I'm thinking, do I even stay here on staff? And now, I'm thinking, do I apply for this position? Do I not apply for this position? Again, it's a very confusing time. Again, like I said, we have all the home issues with Anna, then we had the leadership crash, and then now we have this applicant almost drought where everyone just up and says, God tells me no. And, okay, well, what's God's plan here? And somebody mentioned to me, have you thought about applying? And I didn't. Again, I'm not the person I would have thought of when I say, oh, Brandon, you're going to be a senior pastor one day. And here I am not thinking that was going to be the case. And yet again, listening to God, listening to his calling, praying with my wife and with my family, I decided to apply, and here I am. It passed through the entire congregation, and everyone has been so supportive. And it's just been a really good blessing that you see that God had a plan all along. It's this idea that almost that God had this plan from the beginning, and yet I didn't see it because I can't see the future. I didn't see what was happening. All I could see was what was right in front of my face. And this reminds me seriously of Exodus 14. It's my favorite scripture of all time. This idea of the Israelites coming out of slavery and coming out of bondage. They're escaping under Moses' leadership, and they make it to the Red Sea, and then they're blocked. They're blocked by the sea, and all of a sudden they hear and see that the chariots from behind them are charging ahead of them, charging towards them.
And the sea is in front of them.
The sea is in front of them, and now they're scared. They are confused. They have this idea of we can't go past the sea. We can't get past these Egyptians. What on earth? Why did we trust Moses? Why did we trust God? What are we doing here? It says in Exodus 14:11, it says that they said to Moses, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us out to the desert to die?" And it's just this crying out of, why did we listen? Why did we trust you? Because now all I'm seeing is danger and confusion, and I can feel that in my soul, like this idea of I trust God with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength, and yet it seems like, okay, here's an issue with Anna and her health, and it's life threatening, and then here's an issue with staff, and then here's an issue with elders, and then here's an issue with the applicants, and then here's an issue with a unqualified senior pastor who has no idea what he's doing, and yet the same answer that Moses tells the people is the same answer that God tells me, and God tells anybody else who's listening to here who might be confused as well. Is this idea of Moses answered the people, "Do not be afraid." It said it in verse 14, "The Lord will fight for you. You only need to be still." It's this idea that God's already got the plan. God already knows. God already knew before they even got there that the sea was going to be parted. He already knew before time began that this exact moment was going to happen, and then that exact outcome was going to happen afterwards. And so the Lord has already gone before us. The Lord has already fought before us, and we just need to, in a sense, get out of the way. In a sense, to just let God do what God needs to do. But I will say my favorite part of this entire Exodus chapter 14, ironically, is the next verse, where a lot of people don't read it. They kind of stop there. Fight for you, need to be still, and we say, okay, well, then let's go sit on the couch and wait, because we're supposed to be still, right? I mean, that's what the scripture says, to be still. So all right, let's just go sit down and wait. And I love verse 15 because it says, "Then the Lord said to Moses, 'Why are you crying out to me? You need to tell the Israelites to move on.'" It's this idea, in my opinion, from my perspective, it's this idea that yes, the Lord will fight for you. Yes, your heart needs to be still. You need to trust that God's going to take care of this, but you need to move on. You need to move forward. You need to pick up your mat and walk. You need to actually push forward yourself. And so in all of these situations, yes, I trust that God's going to take care of it, but I can't just sit and do nothing as God takes care of it. Maybe the way that God's taking care of it is for me to get in the game, and for me to pick up my mat and walk, and for me to pick up my staff and stretch it out. And so, maybe God was telling me that the way to part the sea is if you yourself are the one that raises the staff. And so, to me, I love Exodus 14. It's this great opportunity to just say, God, yes, I will trust you, but I'm also going to listen to you. And if you're telling me to go, I have to go. And I have to move.
So in those times of confusing moments in life, whether a critically ill newborn infant, the implosion of leadership in the church, an empty leadership pipeline, you depended on God, and you did that. You stepped out in faith, and you did what was essential to make it through those confusing moments. And God was more than faithful. Yeah.
God will part that sea for sure.
Absolutely. Well, that's a good word, Brandon, not only for me to hear from you, but I know that others can be encouraged, because these are indeed confusing times in which we live. And, even woven into the fabric of your story, as I was remembering what's happened in just recent times there, you had on top of that, like the icing on the cake of confusion, was COVID. COVID was happening in the midst of all of that as well. And you have emerged as a very fine, young, next generation leader in the church, and we are grateful for you. And we believe that God's going to keep working through you in a powerful way, and your entire team now at GFCC. It's amazing what God is doing and will continue to do through you. So thanks for the partnership. We're so grateful that God made our paths to cross some years ago.
I am so grateful as well, Gary. I am more than you know.
Blessings to you. All right. Thanks for taking time with us today.
Yeah, no problem. I will chat with you probably later this week on a phone call or something.
So it's good. It's all been a good word. Thanks, buddy.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.